In this chapter, Canada's League Data Forges Ahead is moderated by Tommy Marshall, Executive Director of the Georgia Fintech Academy. Tommy, all yours.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this event. We've been looking forward to this conversation with our panelists. I'm Tommy Marshall. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Fintech Academy. I'm sitting in Atlanta, Georgia. Our program supports, is part of our university system, and we're all about creating a diverse workforce for the fintech industry. I know many of you that are listening with us are engaged in many ways with fintech, and we're really fortunate today to have Carrie Forbes with us, the CEO of League Data, along with Robin Smith, the commercial director for Mambu, and of course, David Coady, the director of consulting services at the legendary firm CGI. Who are all very active in the Canadian marketplace in meaningful ways in supporting really banking transformation and technology. So we're going to talk about those various topics today. But Carrie, I wanted to get started with you and tell us about League Data and the tremendous service that you offer to the credit unions that you work with.
Thank you, Tommy. Welcome, everybody. And League Data is a very interesting cooperative. So we are like a credit union ourselves. We're cooperatively owned. And as of right now, we're cooperatively owned by 43 credit unions in the Atlantic Canada region. And we actually got started in 1975. So we've been around in the background, I would say almost as a bank of a service for our credit unions for well over 46 years, just in different ways. So we really got our foundation got started back when fintech became a thing. We started to process transactions. That was how we came to be. And over time, you can imagine that the scale for a small credit union, how are they going to do this? How are they going to have the competencies, the skills? So we were founded to take care of that need. And over time, our role really grew to being the CIO for these credit unions. And we also offer them all of the enterprise banking solutions through a variety of partners. So we've actually been in an ecosystem, CGI being our primary partner. And that relationship really got started in 2002 when we became completely outsourced. So we've been kind of in the, I'd say, outsourcing and partnering, which to me is the heart of fintechs for quite some time. And the work we're doing today is to bring them all into the cloud, into the new Mambu system, and also to help them rethink about what they do as credit unions and how they deliver those services. So it's a very exciting time, and I feel very privileged to be at the helm of the company at this time. So I can go on, so I'll stop there as we get moving.
Yeah, I think you captured it well, and it's just the case that I'm definitely hearing you say that League Data came to be because technology was becoming just an ever more important part of delivering banking services. And then that pace hasn't slowed down one bit, I'm sure, since the inception of League Data. And I know in just my interactions in the industry every day, the pace of change is almost overwhelming. And digital transformation is real, and we're seeing it in every corner of financial services. And it's just, it's critical that players like you, like CGI, are able to help these institutions to learn and grow. I wanted to maybe just put forward a question to all of you, because David, we want to pull you and Robin into this conversation. What kinds of things are driving financial institutions to embark on implementing changes? Robin, let me just start with you. I know you're just in the middle of a lot of really transformative activity in the industry right now.
Sure. Thanks, Tommy. Hello, Carrie and David. Great to see you guys today. I think of a Queen song first off, which is "I want it all, I want it now."
Oh yeah.
Right? And that's consumer.
We should sing that in chorus.
There you go. There you go. I'm not Rami Malek though, right? So I can't do that. But when you look at consumer expectations today, consumer expectations are probably as high as they've ever been in terms of wanting service, wanting things instantaneously, whether it's your Amazon delivery, whether it's your large purchase you want to make, and throughout all of that, financial services is embedded in so much of what we do as consumers today. So when you go to buy that $5,000 grill from barbecuemasters.com and you get to the end of the experience and you want to do a buy now, pay later transaction with Bread or with somebody else, that's the consumer expectation, right? In terms of financial services, that is just an integral part of what they expect. And then you combine that with the competition, right? So the competition from the non-banks, from the non-credit unions, from the neobanks, the other non-bank lenders, right? You bring those two things together, consumer expectations and increased competition. And I think it forces institutions to start to really look at how are they meeting their members' requirements? How are they meeting those members to retain those members, to provide those members additional products and services, and to compete with the other players that are out there trying to steal that wallet share. So to me, it's those two things. It's the consumer expectation coupled with the competition that forward-thinking institutions are realizing, that to compete in that world, they've got to transform their technology foundations to be able to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely, Robin. And hi, Carrie. Hi, Robin. Happy to be here with you guys today. Yeah, I mean, digital channel services was always starting, but wow, did the pandemic ever kickstart that one? The horse has left the barn, the toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak. And, a lot of FIs today are really accelerating their need, not just to engage with their clients, but also ensuring that their staff have the digital means as well to ensure that those clients are getting what they need. You talk about things in the industry like open banking and the right to be forgotten through digital identity. There's so many things that are happening right now, and you really need to have an architecture and a technical system, I think, that enables you to address and meet those things. Cybersecurity, of course, is another big thing right now in the financial institution market. It doesn't matter, how many widgets you have or how many pieces of functionality you have, if you don't have that cybersecurity program and needs kind of wrapped around it, especially for smaller to mid-sized financial institutions, you're really missing a big part of the piece there. So I think that's probably another thing to add to what you said there, Robin.
Yeah, great points. And I think too of just how we've been pivoting to mobile first, and the fact that so many members are really, in many ways, demanding the best mobile first experience they can have. And I'm sure that's been a topic of conversation that you've been having with your credit union partners frequently. Am I on the right track there, Carrie? Has that been part of the dialogue?
Absolutely. And today's point, it accelerated over the pandemic. And what we saw, we were already engaged in a pretty significant project at League Data where we were onboarding a new functionality so that our credit unions could open accounts and lend digitally, and also do them on their mobile. And huge, if a financial institution hasn't done that yet, it's a really big change. It's almost like I said, it was like ripping off the Band-Aid of digital for where we're going to go. But what we saw in the data was that a lot of folks that maybe had been hesitant to use digital services adapted very quickly. And we're not seeing that foot traffic return traditionally, that especially for some of our more older members or ones that really liked that face-to-face, it really shifted. And we saw a major increase in demand for more services. I think as well, it's not just about, I want to do what I did at home. They have been in a world now where everything has become virtual. And so the expectations of what we can deliver are increasing in parallel. So their comfort level caught up and then some. And 2 years ago, I was having conversations about the value of digital for certain customers and, trying to kind of bridge a little bit of a difference in some areas. But now it has rapidly accelerated. So those pressures and also some of the innovations that are coming up around that are putting a lot more expectation from our internal, external teams. And it's not just about catching up. They want to see us lead. And so there's also a little bit of that internal desire of how can we differentiate now? We don't want to be like everybody else. So I think mobile first has become the path, not just first. I think it's becoming, this is the new way that we will be doing most of our business.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And I just got to applaud you all for making these critical steps to really modernizing and adding more to your technology capabilities, infrastructure, et cetera, through engagement with partners like Mambu. David, can you kind of just talk a bit about this, like how the decision's been to move towards these modern technology, cloud first type of capabilities? How's that thinking taken place? What's this process been like? And where you're hoping to take things in your collaboration with Carrie?
Well, I mean, I certainly applaud League Data's vision, Carrie's vision, their team's vision. All the things that you just said are very true, and she's been a driving force, I think, with that vision. So applauds to her. I mean, CGI and League Data, we've been working together now for 20 years, as Carrie alluded to earlier. And, we're very proud of all the projects and the strategic initiatives that we've worked on successfully together over those many years. And I think relationships like this, they can't be replicated overnight. CGI has been in the Canadian credit union space, for many, many years, and we know the League Data environment very well. We've been partners with League Data in developing strategy, talking about what's going to be upcoming next, implementing that strategy for many, many years. So, prior to League Data, deciding to move to Mambu, we've had lots of conversations about, going down this path, and, we're here to help. Right now we're working actively with League Data and with Mambu in the plan and design stage. And we're providing a team of technical resources to assist in the various technical streams of the overall program itself. I mean, this is going to be a complex and a pretty exciting implementation process. And I think it requires a pretty iterative and flexible approach, and certainly a continuous dialogue between all parties. And I think so far to date, we definitely communicate frequently every day across all levels of all the organizations involved. It's going to be an exciting journey, but I think it's one that's very achievable.
And thanks, David. And, as I'm sitting here, was listening to you, Robin, it might be worth just taking a second to just mention, when we're talking about cloud first core, like, what does that mean? I mean, maybe just break it down in simple terms, because I know every day I get so caught up in these conversations that, I'll get into some conversations sometime with people, and they'll be like, what exactly are you talking about? Cloud, what? So, why don't we just take a second, Robin, maybe let us level set us around, like, why this kind of topic is so critical and important to really enabling all these different critical trends and capabilities we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, great question, Tommy. And like you say, it is one of those topics that, a lot of people throw around the cloud terminology in pretty loose terms in terms of what that means. And I think that, if you look at historically the way that application software, not just banking software, but application software as a whole, has been developed and evolved over the years. It started off with, something that was sitting on premise, something that was sitting in somebody's data center, something that was sitting on somebody's desktop. And then over time, as technology has advanced, in many, many cases, people have just lifted and shifted that legacy technology and moved it to different environments. So they've moved it from an on-premise data center, into somebody else's infrastructure. And then they've moved that infrastructure into somebody else's infrastructure, like an AWS or a Google. And that's all good, right? It shows the advancement of the technology and the ability to move forward. But you're still moving something old just onto something new. So think about remodeling your house, right? You can paint the outside, but you can't really change the foundation. You can, add on a room, but you don't really change the underlying, structure of the house. And so for a company like Mambu, we were born in the cloud, right? So we never had that legacy type environment to work with, right? So we started developing our software in the cloud. We started developing it in the same way that an Amazon develops their, platform that we're all, very comfortable with for lots of different purposes. And that's where we started our development activities, was in the cloud. So our progression forward is really, how do we leverage that type of scalable infrastructure for clients like Lead Data that are looking to, not only advance from a digital transformation perspective, but also looking to control their costs, to control their ability to build that ecosystem, to extend that ecosystem with systems of similar background, similar types of capabilities, and really build a composable type of framework that can grow into the future for the next 20 to 30 years. So I think about it a lot we use the Lego analogy quite a bit, right? That what you're working with a solution like Mambu is, we all have seen the Lego pictures that are on the front of the box, but your kids will take it out of the box and build something totally different, right? Because they're able to use the parts to, assemble what works best for purpose for them. And so our cloud solution and most native cloud solutions give you that capability through a whole set of, APIs and other things that make that assembly and that composability much easier, much more efficient, much more cost efficient. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's kind of the difference between legacy solutions that still are serving a purpose, but serving those purposes at a higher cost than what we can do, with a scalable, efficient cloud infrastructure.
No, that definitely makes sense to me. And one phrase you used that really kind of hit home for me was this kind of transitioning, moving from old to new. But that's change, and change is hard, and it's scary, and can be quite frightening, and not just for bankers, but for all of us. And so, Carrie, I know you and I've just recently met, but I've been told that you are a whiz at helping your member institutions that you support manage through change and manage through all the remarkable change that we've even been facing in recent times, and certainly we're going to face future times. Tell us about how you've been approaching supporting your clients in this change process of going from that old to new that Robin was talking about.
Thanks, Tommy. I have a lot to live up to with Wiz. But that said, though, I have a very strong, I'd say, background in change management and human resources from my past, which plays a very strong role in the leadership role I have. And I'm very passionate about people in leadership. And I would actually say, and I even think I mentioned this to Robin early days, this isn't a tech project. This is a change transformation of people. And I think sometimes, and this is sort of the lens that I like to look through, is that at every turn, we are a people business in finance and in technology. We abstract it with the tools and all of the processes that are challenging, but at the heart of it, particularly in credit unions, we're up with members and communities. That's who we're out there to impact. And for me, the second big audience is my credit unions and the teams. And so when I come into this, and I've been through a lot of transformations, this is a big one, but my thought goes to that teller line at the front, who's got to bear all of this learning and growth and be the face of the organization. So when I think about it, we have to think with that person in mind, the day of and the day that the new system is there. What supports do they have? How is their leadership prepared? Are they excited about this? Do they understand how it's going to make their job better, especially because it will be painful over the journey? And you can't just flip the switch. It's going to be sustained, and we need to have a program that helps them move, because this affects their day-to-day, how they move. And in this time where we've got a great resignation outside and we've got all of this talent capacity, it's even more imperative. We started our journey at League 7 years ago with internal change. And it starts with how you engage your staff in learning and growth and all of that energy. And without that, I really think that projects struggle. You can get so far, but it's really the people who are going to solve the problems, right? And no matter how great a piece of technology can be, without the right thinking and mindsets, it's not going to matter, especially now in cloud. I find that's the real, like in these new solutions, it really is up to people. So to my mindset, it really is about that leadership view, and it's got to start from the championship top bottom. So that's always been kind of where I've sort of led from, is it's got to be people first. And I think it can be really easy to put them at the back and go, yeah, we'll do all this and then give it to them later. It's too late. They have to be part of it. They have to actually get their hands in it and be part of that visioning, not be done to. And I think that's what I heard really loud and clear from my constituents is, please don't do this to me, involve me. So I'll sum it up there because I can spend the rest of the time talking about change. But as I said, we've actually named it something very organic. We call it Honeybee Mission because it's about how bees work. We all have to come together as a community, and that's how credit unions work too. So it works out really well.
Perfect. I love that. I love the honeybee analogy. David, just one or two things that really give you confidence around the success of this program, or how this program is going to be successful over the next 2 to 3 years. Like what are those couple of things that really get you excited and give you confidence there's going to be a real ability to pull off this change in a meaningful way?
Listening to Carrie right there now, I'm ready to run through a wall. I don't know about you guys. But yeah, no, I think what Carrie touched on there is pretty important, right? I think one thing is that consolidated, communicative leadership style. There's going to be challenges and things like this. It's something that, if you've been in the IT industry for any length of time, you'll understand that things can go off the rails sometimes. And you need leadership who can calmly, take a look at a situation, understand that it's not just abstraction and technology, as Carrie said, that it's also people who are going to be engaged in fixing these challenges and addressing them and overcoming them. So you have to, put that, front and foremost as far as, what your focus is. You have to focus on the people, ensure that they're involved, that they're being communicated to, they understand why decisions are being made and why certain things may not be done. I think that's really important. I think another thing that's important is, in this new environment, I guess, where it's less about a system and more about a partnership ecosystem. Companies like CGI who have, global networks and global capabilities and capacity, all that is great, but there is a need to work with non-traditional partners as if you were all the same team. So I think that's something else that's really important as we start to bring in different vendor partners and different solutions. They all have to work seamlessly together to ensure that customer experience is top-notch from end to end. So it can't be just a silo type approach anymore. You have to be able to kind of tear down some walls and work with folks who may not necessarily be folks that you would normally work with, but in this new environment, everybody needs to come together and make sure that the success is there for the clients and their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Robin,
David.
Yeah, go ahead, Carrie. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, it's really interesting, that point, because I think a big role for League that we're really here is, whether it's through our contracts or how we're managing the day to day, to what you just said, it's not just, okay, this company, it's now a whole, right? The whole thing. And so even down to how we do business, we've been started thinking, do we need to put clauses in contracts about how we work across together? Like we got to be good corporate citizens all as one, not just one-to-one as an example. So to your point, I think it's such a different time, and I think that's exciting. It's kind of nice to work in a big group where you've got all of this energy, as opposed to trying to just do business deal by business deal.
I agree. Robin, I guess like you've seen a lot of these transformations, and you all as a company have been in part of them. How about you? Like, what are the one or two things that you think are really give you confidence there's going to be some really wonderful outcomes here?
Well, I think, not unlike David, right? I'm part of the Carrie fan club, but what I would say is, when I look at league data and what I think is going to drive the Honeybee Mission project to success. It's going to be starting with the kinds of things Carrie described. One is that intense member-focused orientation. And that, not only the individual members that, are the recipients of financial services through the credit unions, but the way Carrie engages with her member credit unions, with the 43 credit unions. And they're all very member focused and very, member centric in terms of their view of the world. And that keeps you, focused on the important stuff, right? That keeps you focused on the things that make a difference. Secondly, she alluded to it, right? It is a team, not a set of individuals, right? So when you look at the way that this project has come together, whether it's ourselves working with CGI, working with other partners that are part of the fabric of what Carrie's putting together, it's that team effort versus an individual effort or any single individual that's going to bring this together. The third thing is, and you see it in Carrie's attitude, right? It's positivity, it's passion, it's forward thinking. It's those kinds of things of realizing that that's the end state that we're trying to achieve. What I see, and you see that throughout the League Data organization, which I say an organization always rises to its leadership. And I think that's a testament to Carrie and her executive team and all of the leaders that are at League Data, that they've set that tone. They've created that vision, they've created that path to success. But what I really admire, probably even more than that, is their willingness to roll their sleeves up and get their hands dirty, right? Because it is a team effort, it's not one person. And so you see Carrie, you see Chad, you see all these other folks within, executive ranks within League Data getting their hands dirty, right? Getting down into the details of things that you might not normally think about. And I laugh when Carrie brings up, she thinks about the effect on the teller, right? As we were going through some of our agreement negotiations, we talked about that type of thing. Like, what happens if we send out a release that has to be rolled out to 43 credit unions, right? How are we going to do that in 90 days, right? And how are we going to work together to make sure that if we break something on the teller line, that the member doesn't suffer the consequences of that, right? So all of those types of things, and thinking not just, getting from point A to point B, wiping your hands and say, I can go to the beach now. It's really looking at life after the implementation, right? Life after all 43 of those credit unions are brought over. What's the support model going to look like? Who's going to be who's going to be responsible? So I think it's that collection of attributes that's going to make this project successful. And again, I think because they have been on this journey for a while, it's where I see a lot of large transformational projects fall down. As the old phrase, proper prior planning prevents performance problems. That's I think well in hand at League Data, in that they've given this thing a lot of thought, they've put a lot of history into it, that just sets it up for success.
Yeah, perfect. Well said. Well, Carrie, Forbes, David, Coady, Robin Smith, wonderful having this discussion with you today. I'm excited for the future. And really all the best to League Data, Mambu, and CGI.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
Take care. See you, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye, guys.